And when I say you, I mean the great Bryant McFadden, here to help us make sense of what we saw in this game. Mac, the Giants ran more plays, had more first downs, more yards, one time possession, fewer penalties, turnover battles even, and you lose by 10. What happened?
3 plays. 3 plays. Number one, the 47-yard touchdown run in the first quarter by Joe Burrow. Not Chase, not Higgins, not Brown, not Moss. Joe Burrow. You cannot allow that to happen in any life, right? Secondly, that's the first miscue for the Giants. The second one was the turnover in the red zone by Daniel Jones. You're in the cusp of putting points on the scoreboard. At that time, you were down 7-0. Worst case scenario, Daniel Jones, you settle for a field goal to go up, to get on the board, 3 points, you're only down 4. But he forced the issue with pressure in his face, created a red zone interception. You cannot have those situations, those plays occur. You got to get away from being that guy. And the last play was the missed field goal in the second half. You had an opportunity to tie the ball game 10-10. Missed a makeable field goal. You missed that opportunity. You gave momentum back to the New York Giants, because if you look at the final score, don't get mesmerized by what you see. 17-7, that score was basically 10-7 until the latter moments of that ball game, with Brown wanting to add fantasy points to his value, not to mention some stats to his value personally. Could have slid, but you know what? He wanted to score. Kudos to him. But when you look at what was going on for the entirety of that ball game, the Giants were right there. But if you change the course of any one of those 3 plays, you might have saw a different outcome.
I'm not abreast to the contract situation of Chase Brown, but there are always incentives that must be taken into account. You got to pay to play sometimes.
Don't blame me. We don't blame you, Chase.
Mac, the Cincinnati side of this one is interesting, because last week they run it up. Yards through the air, points through the air. Joe Burrow, oh, he's back. Lighten it up. 5 touchdown performance, career high. And it comes at a loss. And here, more reserved in the way they deployed the offense, but also more limited in what they were able to execute on. How do you reconcile last week's outcome with this week's win?
Well, there's something about divisional games where you get up and you really give your best. And then tonight, let's tip our hat. Even though I don't have a hat on, I would tip it to the Giants defensively, because I love their game plan against Joe Burrow, a guy who was coming in tonight's matchup with a lot of confidence, playing really, really good football. The same could be said for his wide receiver 1 and Jamar Chase. But they neutralized and slowed down Jamar Chase. T. Higgins was more of a vocal point because of the extra attention that was commanded to Jamar Chase. And then notably, the running game wasn't really a factor as well. Outside of that long rushing touchdown by Joe Burrow, the New York Giants did a great job in stuffing the running game and putting pressure on Joe Burrow. They hit him a bunch, but they actually sacked him 4 times. And this was probably Brian Burns' best game as a New York Giant. He lived up to the billing when you look at what they did to get him. He showed up, not to mention Dexter Lawrence has been a massive force in the interior. But those are the plays that I highlight, the 3 plays, Joe. When you're a team that's still trying to figure things out and create a foundation for yourself, you cannot allow those things to happen. And kudos to Cincinnati, because they finally found a way to win a close ball game.
You see Joe Burrow dinged in the midst of this one as well, went into the blue medical tent, came back out, remained in this game. And it's 3 plays that's the difference in this game.
3 plays.
And perhaps in a season, because now you're looking at 2-4 if you're the Bengals, instead of what would have been a 1-5 and on the brink of we'll see you later. And I know there's still work to be done, but looking at Cincinnati, at the Giants, you come away with the win. At Cleveland, that's not a good football team right now. Philadelphia at home, Vegas at home. This is all right in front of Cincinnati. How should we feel about the Bengals moving forward after the 2 weeks you just saw and the schedule that lies in front of them?
I think the game tonight basically gives you a sigh of relief, but you're not extremely optimistic about their chances because you need to see more. Tonight's matchup was more about the miscues the Giants provided than the execution by the Cincinnati Bengals. So and that's the flow of games.
Still an eyebrow raised.
No question, like Razor Ramon, right? Still an eyebrow being raised based on when you look at the Cincinnati Bengals and you talk about them, because to your point, what we saw last week, we thought we would see a glimpse of that offensively tonight. We didn't see anything close to that. So, yes, the Giants had a great game plan in place, but the execution or the lack thereof was highly documented for the Cincinnati Bengals. But to your point, Cleveland, that's a winnable ball game. Right? The thing I know about good teams in professional sports and sports in general, they win the games they're supposed to win. That's what good teams do. We're still trying to figure out if the Bengals are in that category, tonight they were in that category, can they continue this? Because they have no room for error based on the slow start they got off to in the month of September.
It's a week-to-week league, and this week it's a win for the Bengals. We'll see what it looks like in the weeks to come as Joe Burrow leads these Bengals to their second win of the season. And for Daniel Jones, I have a hard time when we put these guys in primetime windows or in certain windows, and the research team does a great job with it when we see what it means when. Well, Daniel Jones does have I've been giving him the benefit of the doubt, but he's got a primetime problem, and the numbers bear it out. Now just 1-14 under the bright lights, and those bright lights, they can be blinding.